Hello, my name is Jonas. In this video tutorial we are going to take the next step, which will allow us to create the actual newsletter. At the moment this newsletter is a picture. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to put some HTML code to convert this picture into an actual newsletter form. To get started we need to go to the index page, because this is my index page here, index HTML, and I'm going to scroll down until I actually reach to the actual newsletter. And here's my newsletter. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to remove this. Let's put some space here. I'm going to remove this picture. In fact, what I'm going to do, instead of removing it, I'm just going to convert this into programmer's comments. So I'm going to double check later on to compare it with my actual form. So I'm gonna Control S, or you can go to File and select Save. So if we refresh the page now, the newsletter image is being removed. The next thing we need to do here, let's put this, in fact, let's drag it right to the bottom. Okay, so here we are going to create our newsletter. So let's put some programmer's comments here. Newsletter start here, and I'm just gonna copy this, Control C to copy, Control V to paste. I'm just gonna type here and here. So anywhere in between here I'm just gonna create my form. So we're gonna create a new form. So we're gonna open a form tag, and we're gonna say that the action of the form tag is equals to, and then we'll say mail to colon, and then we're going to put our email address. So let's see which email address I use. It's going to use test@a-web.uk. I think that's the one that I'm using. Let's have a look here. It's one of my websites. Yeah, that's one of my websites. Okay, so I'm gonna put this test at, okay, I don't want to use somebody else's website, that's all. Okay, so let's remove the double quote here. All right, so the action is equals to mail to colon test at, and then you put your email address, then followed by the method, which is equals to post. So within double quotes we're going to put post, and then we're going to say enc type is equals to, because we're not expecting any fancy text, and then we're going to specify plain. Now we can actually close the first form tag. Let's go to the end, and we're going to close the actual form, so we'll forget to close the form. So in fact, above the form, let's create a header tag. So let's create a header to tag, and then we're going to call this newsletter. We can always change that by actually putting the picture. We're going to crop this picture to make it look exactly like the actual design. So let's put H2 for now. So if we Control S to save this and then go back here, we can actually see that the newsletter is here. So the next thing we need to do, we're going to put the first label. So we're going to open a label tag, which is equals to, and I will say for name. And then we're gonna close this, and we're gonna say name colon, and then we're gonna close the label tag, and then we're gonna put the input box. So we're gonna create an input box tag, input. The type is equals to text, Let's make sure that we have an ID here, which is equals to name, and the name is equals to name as well. Oops. And we're gonna create a placeholder, which basically will require the user to put a name. So we're gonna say your name. Let's make sure that we have your name within double quotes as well. And then we're gonna make sure that this is required field. So we're gonna put here required. So now we have created our first label. We can create the same, but we can follow the same process. We can actually put here copy and paste. Let me, because I went too fast. So I'm going to highlight the label in the input, Control C to copy, and then Control V to paste. So here we're going to put the surname, or let's say the email address. Let's remove that. Let's put here full name instead of actually having separate input fields. So we're going to say here full name, and then we want the person's email address. So we're going to change that to email, and the ID is going to be email. The name is going to be email, and on the placeholder we want to put your email. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is basically add a button. So we're going to put a button tag, and we're going to say that the type is equals to, and within double quotes we're going to say submit. And let's close that, and we're going to type the word subscribe. You can type subscribe to our newsletter or subscribe, it's up to you. And then we're going to say here, we're going to close the button tag. Basically, this is our form. So our form consists, let's put some space here to break it down here for you. This is the beginning of our form. Within we create the form and we close the form. We created a label and an input box where the user will put their information, and then we create another label and in the input box where the user will add basically their email address. So the first one, they will add their full name, the second one, they will put their email address, and then we create a button where when the user submits, then they will be able to actually submit the information, the data. So if we go to File and select Save and basically refresh the page here, we have now the information as we expected. So let's customize it a little bit. So here we can actually put a BR tag to separate the values here. Line break, Control S to save, or you go File and Save As. So we have now the break line. So let's put a second break line tag. Let's copy that. Let's paste it here. Control S to save. So we have now 2 line breaks. So now we can actually go back to, let's click on, let's put the button as well on the new line. So by actually adding a break line tag below the input box. So the input, field, Control S to save. So now my subscribe button is below. Let's put a second one, second line break tag. Control S to save. Let's refresh. Okay. So now if I put the full name, I'm going to put Ioannis, and then the email address will be test123@gmail.com. And if I click subscribe, I'm using my mail client, the user's mail client will be there, and they can put a subject or they can just click send, and then I will be able to actually receive this email by actually checking my test.aweb.uk email account. Okay, so I know my newsletter works. Let's have a look now the actual original design that I had. So if I put the actual image tag right below the programmer's comments tag, let's put enter here. Let's Control S to save. Let's refresh. Okay, so I've got the newsletter looks with the fancy writing that I have instead of actually this writing. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go here and I'm going to this is my actual newsletter, so I'm not requiring on my original design the name. So the reason why I did it that way is just in case yours actually has name or surname or anything else you would like to actually have. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to select the crop tool and then crop the actual header. Okay, that will do. And I'm going to press the enter key on my keyboard. I'm going to go to file, select export as PNG, yes, and I'm just going to copy this and I'm going to put this into my website folder where I've got the images, and I'm just going to call it newsletter hyphen title. You can call it wherever you like. So I've got now newsletter hyphen title. I'm going to copy this name now. I'm going to go back here and I'm going to go back to my HTML page, and where I have the header header 2 here, newsletter, I'm going to replace that with the actual image. So I'm going to put an image tag, img tag, and the source src is going to be equals to, and then I'm going to put images / and then the name of my actual picture. And let's Control S to save. Let's refresh here. So we have our image here. So the border around my picture, if we go back to the original, let's press escape here. Okay, if we Control Z to go back to the original newsletter, the background, is white. So I'm going to go here, I'm going to go to my form, and I'm going to put a style here. I'm going to say style equals, and within double quotes I can say here background hyphen color, American spelling, white, semicolon to add my statement, Control S to save, refresh. Okay, and then I'm going to put some padding here as well. So padding, let's put 20 pixels, Control S to save. Okay, so have the padding. Let's put border radius here as well. So let's say border hyphen radius, let's make it 25 pixels, semicolon to add my statement, Control S to save. So I've got a fancy here radius here. So the newsletter here is white. We can actually put the header 2 tag within our form. So let's bring this just above the label, Control S to save. So now we have our actual newsletter label. Let's go back here in a similar way that we had that one here. All right, we had some text here, so please add your email address in order to sign up to our newsletter. So let's put here right below here that one. Let's create a span tag. And let's close it. The reason why I'm creating a span tag is just in case I would like to basically increase or reduce the font size or change the style. So I'm going to say here, please add your email address in order to sign up to our newsletter. Let's put an exclamation mark here. Alright, so Control S to save. Let's refresh the page here. Alright, let's put a BR tag here. For a line break, let's put couple BR tags. Control S to save. That's just to separate it. So this is go to multiple lines. Let's change the font size a little bit so we can have this in one line. Let's put a style tag here, and then we're going to say is equals to, and then within the double quotes we're going to say font hyphen size. Let's make it 8 pixels. Semicolon to enter statement. Control S to save. That's well too small. Let's increase that to 10 pixels. Control S to save. Okay, we can go a bit higher. 12 pixels. Control S to save. Okay, 12 pixels is reasonable. Okay, so now we can actually lose the full name because on our original design we had only the email. So the input box for the full name is no longer needed, so I'm going to remove that, including the BR tags as well. Control S to save. So I now have only the email address. I'm still showing the newsletter here. Because I already have the newsletter the way it looks here, I can actually hide this image tag here, drag it back to my programmer's comments, which is less than exclamation mark hyphen hyphen and then ends in hyphen hyphen greater than. Control S to save. Let's refresh the page. Much better. So the next thing I need to do is make sure that I've got this text as the email. So I'm just going to crop this text here. Press the enter key on my keyboard. I'm just going to go to file, export PNG. Again, you don't have to do this. So what I try to do here, I try to make this look exactly the same as my original design. Again, that's not necessary. So I'm just going to call this newsletter label. So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to go back to my HTML page, and where I have the actual email address, I'm going to replace this text with the image tag. So I'm going to create an img tag, and the source src is equals to double quotes, and then close that. And then I'm going to put here images / and the name of my picture. Control S to save. And I've got it here. Now we are going to make sure that the picture here and the actual text field, the input box, will be on the same alignment. In order to do this, I'm going to basically add the label and the input box within the same div tag. And I'm just going to create a style, which will, let's say, style equals. which will enable me to basically align them together. So I'm just going to close the div tag right below the input field. So now we are going to put the CSS code here. So we're going to say display colon and then we're going to make this flexible, flex, semicolon to header statement. Then we're going to basically set the alignment of the items. So align hyphen items. Let's make sure that this is set to center. Let's put a gap between the two objects. So let's put gap of 10 pixels. You can actually adjust it as appropriate in your case. And in order to make sure that we set the both fields, let's save this. So okay, in order to make sure that these are set to center alignment, we are going to expand our style of on our style, and we're going to say justify content hyphen content, and then we're going to set this to center. Control S to save, and now our contents are justified to center. So we have quite a few spaces here. So let's remove some of the BR tags here. Let's remove the BR tag from here as well. So we have single BR tags. Control S to save. Just make sure that we are within the same shape. Otherwise, we're going to have to expand a little bit of our box 3. We're probably going to have to change the height to accommodate our changes here. Let's basically set the subscribe button to the right alignment. So let's go to here to our button, and then we'll say let's apply style equals, and we're going to say justify content, and I will say right. Control S to save. Okay, this is not working, so because we are already, let's change that to text align. Control S to save. No, we're gonna have to put this within a div tag so we can actually customize it. So let's remove that. Let's remove the div tag, the PR tag, and we're going to convert this into a div tag. So div, unless we can actually put this right into the center. No, well, let's put, let's say style equals, let's put padding right, let's make it 30 pixels. Let's see how this will look. Control S to save. Okay, let's set this to left. Control S to save. Okay, we're changing the actual text here. Yeah, it's not what we want. So let's remove that. Let's change the whole. Let's put a div tag here. Let's close the div tag here, so we have more control now of our button. And on the open div tag, we're going to set a style. We're going to say justify content. Now we'll say right, semicolon to understatement. Control S to save. Okay, I don't justify content right. Okay, let's change that to text align. Control S to save. Yeah, that's better. And let's put margin hyphen right. Let's make 50 pixels. Semicolon to other statement. Let's make this 70. Control S to save. Let's make it 90. Control S to save. That's better. Okay, let's go to our original design. Let's Control Z. Let's escape that. Control Z to undo. So we've got it here. So we have the color, the background color. In fact, we could actually put the sign up button as a picture. So let's crop that. Enter. Let's go to File. Select Export as PNG. Let's put this here. And then we're gonna call this newsletter -btn for button. Let's copy that from here. Let's put it into our images folder. We're gonna copy this from here. Let's go back to our code, and where we have the button submit instead of subscribe, we're gonna set this to a button. So we're gonna set the image. So we're gonna say img src equals, and then we're gonna say images / the name of our picture. Control S to save. And now we have our button here. So our button is within the button. So we don't want this to happen. In order to do this, we need to apply style on the button. So we'll say style is equals to, and then within the double quotes we're going to put our style, which we're going to set the border to 0. Let's put to none. Then we're going to put padding to 0, and we're going to put the background to none as well. Control S to save. If we refresh our page now, our ugly section now is disappeared. We have another issue here with the height of the newsletter. We're going to fix this because we're going to do this based on the CSS styles that we have created before. So before we move on to the CSS style to finalize our newsletter, let's increase the font size here. So we're going to go to our input email placeholder, and we're going to put a style here. We're going to say equals to, and then let's change the font size to something like 30 maybe pixels. Control S to save. Let's check it out. Let's have a look at our original design. Control Z to undo here. It's about right. Okay, let's change. Yeah, that will do. Also, we need to change the border as well. So border, let's make it, what color is it? Border to solid, and then we're gonna put, let's have a look at the color. If you go to Google and type color picker, the color is purpley color. Let's put this here. Let's go there. Alright, so let's have a look. something like that. Okay, let's put this back here. Let's get the hexadecimal code. So we're gonna copy this. Or you can just highlight it, right click and select copy. And let's put this here. A semicolon to under our statement. So the size is 2, it's solid, and this is the color. So let's go here, refresh. Okay, let's set it to pixels. So let's pick it up. Control S to save. That's better. Okay, it's a bit thicker than that. Let's make it 6 pixels. That's better. Let's reduce the size a little bit. Maybe 27. Control S to save. Oh, maybe 270. Control S to save. 27. Let's make it 25 or 24. Control S to save. Let's have a look. It's about right. Okay, let's push the button a bit to the right. So let's go to the button here. We set this 90 pixels. Let's make this maybe 60. Control S to save. Let's make it 20. Control S to save. That will do. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is just increase the height of our box. So to do this, we need to go to our CSS styles, the styles, my styles. Let's go to box 3 and let's change the height to maybe 300 pixels. Control S to save. 300 is too big, so let's make this 280 pixels. Control S to save. That's about right. Okay. So the newsletter now is ready. So if we put here the email address, we click, okay, the email address works, then the user will submit. Okay, cool. So now we've finished the newsletter. The next thing we need to do is basically follow the same process, and we can actually complete the contact us form, which is here. Okay, now we have the weekly newsletter on the contact us form here as well, and on the about us. So we have this on every single page, so which means that we need to go to the home tab here. We have the actual proper newsletter form that works. Let's go to the index page, and this is what we added before. The newsletter starts here and the newsletter ends here. Let's have a look where it ends. Newsletter ends here. Okay, we're gonna copy this. Let's copy this as well, the picture. Okay, newsletter starts here, newsletter ends here. We're gonna copy the commented out image tag as well. So we're gonna copy this. We're gonna make sure that we're going to go to File, select Save, because we don't want to lose our work. Now we're gonna open the About page. We're gonna go to the newsletter section. Let's have a look. That's the one, the newsletter section. We're gonna highlight the image tag. We're gonna press the Enter key. So we delete the image tag, Control V to paste. Now the newsletter is placed there. So we're gonna go to File, select Save, and now we're gonna go to the next page, contact page. Let's go to our newsletter again. Highlight the picture of the newsletter, backspace deleted, press the Enter key a couple times. Control V to paste, or right click and paste. So you could right click and select paste alternatively. So Control S to save. Let's go to the product page now, and we're gonna go to the newsletter again. Let's have a look. Where is it? Newsletter. That's the one, the newsletter image. Press the enter key a couple times, right click, select paste, Control S to save. The final page is the services page. Go to find the newsletter image. We can delete the newsletter image. Press the enter key a couple times, right click and select paste, Control S to save. Now when we actually visit the different pages, we will be able to actually see the newsletter fully working, because it's exactly the same newsletter. I hope you've learned something new today. I hope you will be able to apply these new skills to create great newsletters for your website. Bye for now.